We're not here in a lecture, so to speak. So please, if you have a clarifying question, or if something that you would like, any comments or anything of that sort, as long as it's within the subject that we're discussing, please raise your hand and let's have a conversation. Sounds good? Are you all excited? Yes. Okay. Good. 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 All right. وتسابونا, do you mind if you صلي لنا لو سمحت please يا بونا؟ معلش أنا ابتديت قبل ما أقول لك تصلي، أخطيت. آسف. آسف. اتفضل يا بونا. Lord in heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. Forgive us our trespasses. حللني يا بونا please. حللني. Do you have the mic? Oh, you did? Oh, email is best. Do you have my email address from last time? G Basilios. Yeah, GBASSILIOS @gmail. How do you turn this on? Oh, there you go. Or did I change the channel or anything like that?
One technology works, the other one doesn't.
That's okay. We'll get it to work. Nope. No, testing, no. All right. Well, anyways, let me, if you can figure out somehow. Sorry, Nader Habibi. All right. Yeah, it's okay. We can. Okay. So, before we begin, any comments before we dive in? Hello. So this is what we did before you guys join. You have to tell me your name and the church that you go to and why are you here. Don't say anything. Okay. What's your name? Valerie. And YMCP or seminary? YMCP. Okay. Valerie, nice to meet you, Valerie. And you are? Hi, Sarah. YMCP as well. Excellent. Welcome. All right. So as I was saying, let's dive into Introduction to Apologetics and see if we can get the mic to work. Any of you heard of the term apologetics or the expression apologetics? And if so, can you tell me what it means? Hello. I didn't see you. I'm sorry. What's your name? No. Heba. Oh, okay. Oh, wow. Yeah, I remember that. That was a while ago. Yeah. Seminary. Excellent. Excellent. Thank you. Okay. Munawara Heba. Okay. Yes. All right. Good to have you. So apologetics, what does it mean? What does the word apologetics mean? To apologize? No. Apologetics comes from the word apologia. That's a Greek word that means to defend one's position, to defend your position. So Christian apologetics means to defend your position as a Christian. That's it. or your faith as a Christian, or your Christian faith. So apologetics is a branch of theology that is devoted to the defense of the Christian faith. That's what apologetics is. So whenever you are talking to someone and you're explaining to them what you believe and why you believe what you believe, you are doing apologetics. You don't have to be, a scholar in apologetics to do so. When you just talk about your faith, share your faith, defend your faith, you are doing apologetics. Now, apologetics is all over the scriptures, but there's one verse that is the most commonly used verse in apologetics. Anyone knows what it is? It begins with the word always. Be ready. Exactly, when they come ask you. Exactly. Thank you, Margaret. Always be ready to give a defense to everyone who asks you a reason for the hope that is in you with meekness and fear. Now, this is 1 Peter 3:15. I think if we're studying apologetics, whether you're in the seminary or YMCP, you need to memorize this verse. Always be ready to give a defense to everyone who asks you a reason for the hope that is in you with meekness and fear. Now, you know what the original word for defense in Greek is what? Apologia. So if you look at the Greek scriptures, the Greek Bible, and you look at 1 Peter 3:15, you'll see apologia, from which we get apologetics. Now, let's look at this verse and dissect it and delve into this verse. This verse answers 5 important questions. What do we do? Or what are we called to do? To whom are we called to do so? When do we do it? Why do we do it? And how do we do it? You see, 5 questions are answered in this one simple verse. Now, let's try to answer those questions. What are we called to do by St. Peter? To give a defense. We're called to give a defense. Now, when are we called to do so? Always. Always, thank you, Vereen. Always, all the time. Not when I'm in the mood, not when I feel like it, but all the time. All the time, I'm always ready to give a defense. Now, to whom are we to give a defense? To some people? To only the ones I like or the ones I don't like? Or no, everyone. Everyone. Now, here's another question. Why are we called to give a defense all the time to everyone? Why? No, answer from the verse. Because we have hope. Excellent. And that hope comes from what? Exactly. Comes from who? From Jesus. But from what? Huh? Exactly. These are not trick questions. It's just simple. So my hope comes from my faith in Jesus Christ. You see, I have hope. And because I have hope, that is a byproduct of my faith, I must share my faith and defend it to all of you all the time. Now, here's the most important question. How? With meekness and fear. That's apologetics. That's it. Very simple. If you were just to study or dissect this verse, you have studied apologetics, at least an overarching perspective of apologetics. So we're called to do what? To give a defense. To whom? To everyone. When? All the time. Why? Because I have hope that comes from my faith in Jesus Christ. How? With meekness and fear. All right. Another verse in apologetics in 2 Timothy chapter 2, verse 25, in humility, St. Paul is saying to his disciple Timothy, correcting those who are in opposition. Why? So that they may know the truth. That's another verse of apologetics. Correct those who are in opposition. Why should I do that? So that they may know the truth. Another last verse, Colossians, to the Colossians, St. Paul says, let your speech always be with grace, seasoned with salt. Why, St. Paul? That you may know how you ought to answer each one. That's another verse about apologetics. So if you look at all these three verses, from 1 Peter 3:15, 2 Timothy, and Colossians, you'll see that all of them tell us what we should do. Defend, correct, answer. Right? Defend your faith, correct others, answer questions. But more importantly, they don't just tell us what we do, they tell us how we should do it. The first one, with meekness and fear. Second one, in humility. Third one, with grace. That's apologetics. Let me give you another fourth verse that I think it should be a mantra for all of us as students in the apologetic sessions. Ephesians 4:15, remember this verse. Ephesians 4:15, if you can look it up, you'll see beautiful, to the point verse that we all should live by. Can someone tell me what it says? Very few words. 5 words. Begins with the word speak. Anyone? Anybody got it? Ephesians 4. Yes, yes. Go ahead, Robert. Perfect. Speak the truth. Be bold. Be courageous. Be audacious. But do so in love. You see? Why do I say that? Because when you delve into the field of apologetics, I can tell you from experience, back in 2001, when I was still studying apologetics and getting, passionate about apologetics, and there, it was something relatively new, I should say, in our current society, if you will. Anyways, I was overzealous, and I was just, yes, I need to conquer the world with apologetics and prove everybody wrong, and how Christianity is right and you're wrong, and all that. You have all this passion and zeal within you, at the expense of what? Meekness and fear, humility, grace, seasoned with salt. Yes, it was all about truth, but there was no what? Grace and love and compassion and humility. You see, I see that as well, that in others who study apologetics, you either err on one side or the other side. But what you need to do is to be bold, courageous, and speak the truth, but package that with grace, love, and humility. Okay? All right. Apologetics and church fathers. Apologetics and church fathers. Now, apologetics is not something that just came up a decade or two ago. Our church fathers were not only saints, nor were they only theologians, but they were also apologists. Can someone tell me at least one church father who was an apologist, as well as, of course, a theologian and a saint? Saint Athanasius, exactly. Famously, he wrote this, what's his book is famous for? On the Incarnation, exactly, on the incarnation of the Word. That's an apologetic work that he had written. Let me share with you some. As you mentioned, Saint Athanasius on the Incarnation, and he also wrote against heathens, great apologetic work. Saint Irenaeus against heresies. Saint Justin Martyr, Epistles to Rome, and Saint Clement of Alexandria, Exhortation to the Greeks, and so many other church fathers that have written scores of apologetic literature that we use in our apologetic sessions and training and so on. All right, let me then go over some apologetic methods, ways to defend your faith. Again, bear with me. I'm going to, as I said earlier, I'm going to begin with the academic, theoretical part of apologetics, but trust me, I will make it practical as we progress. So, bear with me. So, what are some apologetic methods, ways to do apologetics? First, the classical method or classical approach of apologetics. This is when you use logic and, and reason to convince others who don't believe in God. Actually, I should probably change that because I don't like the word convince. Okay, using logic and reason to discuss the existence of God, the uniqueness of Christianity with non-believers. Okay, I should change that, and I'll tell you why. Well, I'll tell you now why I don't like the word convince. Because when you talk about your faith, you're not talking to someone to convince them, nor will you be able to ever convince them. Apologetics, and I'll tell you, apologetics does not convert people. The Holy Spirit converts people. Apologetics, what does it do? It points to the source of healing. It doesn't heal. Christ does the healing, but we point to him to do the healing. You want to make sure you understand that, because some people think that, oh, through my intelligence, the way I articulate my arguments and my knowledge and all of that, I was able to bring people to the Lord. No, Habibi, you did not bring people to the Lord. You helped. You became an instrument in the hands of the Lord to do his work. You see, he must touch their heart to come to the Lord. But he's allowing you to take the blessing of working with him. You see, you need to put apologetics in its proper framework. And we'll talk about that in a second. So there's the classical approach, and there are some examples from the scriptures. St. Paul used this classical approach repeatedly in Acts chapter 17, Acts chapter 18. It says here, and he reasoned in the synagogue every Sabbath and persuaded both Jews and Greeks. Who's he? St. Paul. What does reasoned mean? He used logic and reason to discuss the existence of God and Christianity. These are philosophical arguments. I failed to mention to you that my background, my educational background, is both in philosophy and psychology, and and also apologetics. Evidential apologetics. This is when you use evidence to discuss with non-believers that God exists and that Christianity is true. When you use evidence. So there's evidential apologetics, and there is classical apologetics. And here's another example of evidence in Acts chapter 1, to whom he also presented himself alive after his suffering by many infallible proofs. So Christ wanted to show evidence that he is indeed who he claims to be. So evidential apologetics. There's also another type of apologetics called presuppositional apologetics. That's when you start with the presupposition or the assumption that God does exist, that we all are fallen and need a savior, that the Bible is true, and you begin with that assumption and then you build your argument based on this assumption. The fourth type is called relational apologetics. That's when you establish a relationship with the other person and then you begin talking about the Lord Jesus Christ. Why is that? So that you can build trust and humility with the other person. The last approach or method of apologetics is called experiential apologetics. This is when you go and share your experience with the Lord Jesus Christ, and it's when you tell someone, look what happened to me, and the Lord was with me, and so on and so forth. That is experiential apologetics. So how many we have? How many methods? 5. Can we repeat them again? We've got the classical, the evidential, the presuppositional, the relational, and the experiential. Now, you don't have to use them. They're not mutually exclusive. You can use a combination. You can always use my method of choice, or both, is the logical and the evidential. I use logic and reason, and I also have evidence that I present to others. Okay. Now let me ask you some questions. Now we're getting into the practical. Why bother? Why do we have to defend our faith? Can we just live and let live? It is not politically correct to say, I'm right, you're wrong. Can we just be tolerant with everyone? Why? Why do we have to defend our faith? I want you guys to engage with me. Come on. Why? What is that? Preaching? Why? Can you just mind your own business? You're great. Okay, so I love what you said, but let me ask you a question. When we okay, let me ask you this question this way. Are we defending God, or are we defending our faith in God? Think about it. I can tell you what Islam does. Islam defends God. Christianity defends our faith in God. God doesn't need defending. You see? He doesn't need me to defend him. He defends me. But I'm defending my faith in him. That's apologetics. So, yes, I do that because I love him. But more importantly, how do I show my love to him? By loving his children. And because I love others, I want them to enjoy what I enjoy. You see? Now, let's get a little theological. Do we all love God? Now, what is the best way you can show our Lord Jesus Christ that I love him? I just said it. By loving his children. Simply. I'll prove it to you from the Bible. John chapter 14. If you love me, this is the Lord Jesus speaking. If you love me, obey my commandments. It's a pretty straightforward verse. Now, we all love him. And he said, if you do love me, obey my commandments. Few verses later, this is my commandment, that you love one another as I have loved you. So by loving one another, we are showing God that we love him. Now let's even make it more practical. I am a father. If you want to show me as a father that you truly, sincerely, genuinely love me, you know what is the best way you can show your love towards me? Love my kids. If you love my kids, you're good. You see? So think about it. I say this as I say this sometimes to for the youth. I say there are 4 questions of love. I'm digressing a little. I'll get back to apologetics in a second. There are 4 questions of love. Why does God love me? How did he demonstrate his love towards me? Why do I love him? And how do I demonstrate my love towards him? 4 questions of love. Well, let's answer those 4 questions. Why does he love me? That's simple. No, that's after the fact. But why does God love us? Who said that? Yes, thank you. Because he is love. He cannot not love. He cannot not love. Just like light cannot not shine. The sun cannot not shine, you see? So he radiates love. Why does God love us? Because he is love. How did he demonstrate his love for us? That's easy. He died for me. Not just died. He died and resurrected. Always have to say both of them. He died and resurrected for me. He died only for me. That's another denomination. He died and resurrected for me. That's our Orthodox teaching. Okay? Why do we love him? That St. John said it. Beautiful. Thank you, Hiba. We love him Because he loved us first. How do we love him? By loving each other. See how simple this is? This is practical spiritual Christianity in simple terms. It's not rocket science. You live in, I'll say in love, but you love someone, you love others as Christ loved you. You are living a Christian life as it should. All right, back to apologetics. Why do we do apologetics? Apologetics is we love God, and because we love him, we love his children. Why else? And well, very good. Yeah, you love others and you care about their salvation. Yes. Well, you care about their salvation because you love them. And you love them because you love him. Okay, I want something else. You're right, but something in addition to that. Why should we defend our faith? Why are you here? Right. Part of love is to show the world who Christ is. You're absolutely right. Yes, Sarah. It is the most important thing. It is. Excellent. Excellent. Very good. Well said. Because it is the most, it's what gives life meaning and purpose and satisfaction, fulfillment, and all of that. All right, let me ask you another question. Think about the world that we live in. That's where I was trying to get at. The world we live in, don't you think that because of the challenge of the society and the culture that we're in, we must, as Christians, say something, do something about our faith? Because if we don't, the world is becoming increasingly more and more secular, anti-theistic. So we need to do something, not only because we are called to do so, but because of where we are in this world. Third, because of who we are to this world. So three reasons, at least three reasons why we should defend our faith. Let's go through each one of them. Why? Because God commands us to do so, first and foremost. And he doesn't give us commandments just for the heck of it. He gives us commandments because we will benefit and others will benefit from these commandments. And as I mentioned to you, we are to give a reason, we are to defend, we are to answer, we are to contend, we are to correct, all of these things. Number two, because the world needs it. God commands it, and the world needs it. Now, Christianity has been under attack in recent years. I don't think you can argue with that. And if you disagree with that, please let me know. But in all facets of society, in the media and politics, academia, entertainment, you name it, all angles, Christianity is singled out to be mocked, ridiculed, attacked, made fun of. But dare you say anything about Buddhism, Islam, Hinduism, or even atheism? But Christianity, say all you want. Make fun of it all you want. Am I speaking out of touch with reality, or this is what's going on? This is what's going on. All right. You see books that are bestsellers. All of these books, I'm not sure if any of you have heard of them. I don't suggest you buy them. Don't waste your money. But it's The God Delusion by Richard Dawkins. Richard Dawkins, by the way, the most vocal. You'll hear his name quite often in the next couple of days. Most vocal, aggressive atheist. The God Delusion. The End of Faith by Sam Harris. God is not great by Hitchens, Christopher Hitchens. Why there is no God? The Third Jesus by Deepak Chopra. The Zealot. The Da Vinci Code, I'm sure you've heard of that one, by Dan Brown. And a lot of other books that are aimed at attacking our precious Christian faith, nothing else. Here in Canada, Canadians are less religious than ever before, census reveals. I am sure you're not surprised, but I just wanted to share with you what's going on in the world around us. Here's what J.P. Moreland said. He wrote a book called Love God with All Your Mind. He said in page 21, a major cause of our current crisis in the Western world consists of a worldview shift from a Christian understanding of reality and truth to a post-Christian one. We live in a post-Christian Western world. So if you think you have immigrated from Egypt to live in a Christian country, think again. I'll tell you why. I'll tell you what. The persecution that is in your face in Egypt, let's say, is far easier to deal with than the subtle, hidden poison that is given to us in a beautiful package here in the West. You see? Because the challenge here in the West is not just in your face, it's subtle, secular ideologies. That I tell you this by experience. Again, I go on college campuses. I do what's called on-campus ministries in the US, a couple here in Canada, in Europe, in Australia. I go and speak on college campuses to Copts and to non-Copts. And I see the subtle ideology that is aimed at attacking our precious Christian faith. And I'll share with you some of these ideologies and worldviews. All right. Let me share with you the creed of our anti-Christian culture. If you were to ask someone out there who is, I want to say out there, non-believer, not Christian, doesn't believe in God, and you want to have a reflection of what our society believes in, let me share with you what it would be like. Darwinian evolution explains where I came from. The Bible, it's a decent book, but it's ancient. It's not relevant to our times. It's full of fictional stories. What about Jesus? Jesus is a nice man. He said a lot of wonderful things. He's not God, though. I cannot say he's God because that would offend every non-Christian when I say Jesus is God. What about those Christians? Oh man, those Christians are intolerant. They're homophobic. They're transphobic. They're everything else phobic. And they judge you. They're judgmental people. What about the resurrection? The resurrection is a myth. It never happened. Have you ever seen someone rise from the dead? No, me neither. This was just a fictional story. I am an atheist. I don't need your God to be happy. I'm happy the way I am. I'm an atheist. I don't need your God to live a good moral life. I am doing just fine without your God. Let me give you some more. Christianity, I think it's a psychological crutch. You guys know what that means? Just people, you know, the father figure of Christianity, you just basically, it's your escape, your crutch. This imaginary God makes you feel good when you're depressed and anxious. I don't believe in organized religion. Any of you heard of that? Because I hear it all the time on college campuses. Oh, the church is, this is a good one too. Why don't you go to church? You know what? Because the church is full of hypocrites. That's why I don't go to church. You know, I was having a conversation with someone. This was in a joking way. I said that. When he said, I don't go to church because it's full of hypocrites. I said, that's okay. We have room for one more. In other words, who isn't? All right. Because the church is what? St. John Chrysostom said it. Hospital. When you go to the gym, do you expect to see people that are fit and bodies that are, perfect bodies? No, you don't. I mean, not the gym I go to, at least. But what do? You say, I am glad, I'm proud of you all, even though you don't look fit, but you're going to the gym to be fit. I'm glad you're going to the church, not because you're a saint, so that you can become a saint. All right. All religions lead to God. Only, just Muslims, Buddhist, Hindu, Confucius. We all worship the same God. We just call him by different names. Oh, here's another common one. I'm spiritual. but I'm not religious. Any of you heard of that before? Amazing. Amazingly difficult. And here's the last one. When I ask people again on college campuses, so what do you believe in? I believe in human kindness. I believe in, I have to say it like that. I believe in love and human kindness. What does that mean? I have no idea. It just sounds nice. I mean, you can't argue with kindness and love, مشكلة? But that's what I believe in. Is there a God? Oh, there's got to be some higher power. But I leave that to the theologians. I just believe in love. Can we just love each other? Can we just be tolerant? Can we be accepting? It's all about social justice and this and that. Anyways, so this is what I would, and by the way, I have two more slides, but I don't want to depress you and be pessimistic, but that is the society we live in. And but when God gifts you with children, they will grow up in a world that is challenging, very challenging. So unless you stand up for what is true and you speak the truth in love and understand the challenge, you will have a very difficult time. You hold on to the grace of God to help you through this challenge that we live in. Now, there are several warnings from the scriptures. Let me share with you the warnings from the scriptures. St. Paul says we should no longer be children tossed to and from and carried about with every wind of doctrine. In latter times, some will depart from the faith, giving heed to receiving deceiving spirits and doctrines of demons. You see, what is the focus here? Is what? Doctrine, teachings, doctrines. You see? Beware, that's in Colossians, lest anyone cheat you through philosophy and empty deceit. Philosophy, worldviews, doctrines, teachings. Do not be carried about with various and strange doctrines. St. Paul is repeatedly warning us. We will have doctrine. What is another word for doctrine? Ideologies, worldviews, schools of thought. All those isms that we repeatedly say: atheism, pluralism, agnosticism, humanism, existentialism, hedonism. All those isms are what St. Paul is talking about. And you know what? All those isms are being taught on college campuses, at least in the US. So we have, I'll give you some of those isms, okay? Some of those schools of thought or doctrines that St. Paul is warning us about. Moral relativism. Y'all know what that is. Everything is relative to the individual or to the circumstance. Truth is dead. There is no such a thing as moral absolutes. Morality is relative. What you think is true, I think is false. What you think is right, I think is wrong. There's no overarching, absolute, objective way of looking at situations or individuals. Emotionalism, feelings replace everything. Now, it's all about how I feel. My feelings determine what is true and what is false. I feel that I am a woman trapped in a man's body, then I must be a woman because I feel this way. Just follow your feelings. Follow your what? Follow your heart. Live your truth. Be your authentic self. You do you. All of these expressions, I mean, we have them in the States. Are these common here as well? Am I just saying things that are not relevant? You see? You do you. We hear this all the time. Live your truth. Be authentic. Follow your heart. You deserve to be happy. Gosh, there are a lot more. A lot more. I wouldn't want to repeat it in church, but a lot more that similar to what I just said. Emotionalism. Follow your heart. Scientism. Science is my only source of truth. If I don't see it, hear it, feel it, it doesn't exist. Pluralism. All religions worship the same God. Existential nihilism. Emptiness, loss of meaning, loss of purpose. Everything is meaningless. When I was at a conference one time and someone said, I think everything in this world is meaningless. I said, no, I don't think you believe that. He said, yes, I believe that. I said, then what you just said then becomes meaningless as well. So you probably said, you essentially said nothing. All right, hedonism. What's hedonism? The pursuit of pleasure, physical pleasure, and confusion about who you are, the confusion about one of the most fundamental, basic realities. What does it mean to be human? Who are we? Again, confusions about your identity. So these are ideologies because we know that there are two war zones that we ought to be aware of and address: the moral and the intellectual. I'm not here to talk to you about the moral. We all know what that is, and we all see it, and it's very obvious. But the intellectual is the one that's far more dangerous. And can I be very honest with you? Maybe because it's a cultural thing, maybe, but we focus on the moral far more than the intellectual. And I don't want to get into details, but I think you get my point. How did we get there? I'm going to share this with you and we'll take a quick break. How did we get to this point? Let me give you a quick history on how we got to this point. From the 1st to the 17th century, we lived in a world or an era that was known to be the pre-modern era. بالعربي ما قبل الحداثة, the pre-modern era. Okay, well, people were generally theistic. Theistic, yani they believed in God. They were believers in God. Truth did exist. Truth did exist. It came from God by faith, and it was disseminated to everyone by all the religious organizations. That's from the 1st to the 15th century. You had a question? Okay. So that was the era that we lived in, the pre-modern era, when people were theistic, they believed in God, truth does exist, it comes from God by faith. Now, from the 17th to the 20th century, we moved from the pre-modern era to the modern era. People no longer were theistic believers in God. Atheism has become very prevalent in the 17th to the 20th century. People no longer believed in God, they were atheists. Truth still exists, but it no longer comes from God by faith. It comes now from what? Science by reason. It's all about science and reason. Now, what led to this shift from theism to atheism? What happened in history that led to this shift in ideology? The Industrial Revolution, the Renaissance, the Enlightenment period, all of these movements in Europe, Western and Eastern Europe, had created that shift. People like Sigmund Freud, Karl Marx, Friedrich Nietzsche, and others. Who else do I have? Charles Darwin, Immanuel Kant. All of these people, proponents, were advocating atheism. We don't need God anymore because we can do things on our own. Now, from the 20th to the 21st century and beyond, we move from pre-modernism to modernism to post-modernism. In Arabic, ما بعد الحداثة. And then God did exist back then. He doesn't exist here because truth no longer comes from God by faith. It now comes from science by reason. Now truth doesn't exist anymore outside of me. It comes from me. How? By feelings. That's where truth comes from. God doesn't exist. I now create 3 replacement gods for this one true God. What are those 3 replacement gods of our society with a lowercase g? Humanism, materialism, and hedonism. And these are the 3 gods of our society. What is humanism? I am God. Sorry, God, take a back seat. I am now God. Watch the new the news about AI. What's his name? Y'all know the Jewish guy that is saying that AI is going to make us immortal and all of that. Anyways, with the explosion of artificial intelligence, we are actually becoming, I'm not saying we become, they believe, the world now, the secular world believes that we're going to be our own gods. So humanism is I am God. What is materialism? My possessions are God. My money is God. What is hedonism? My body, my pleasure is God. So these are the 3 gods of our current society. Truth comes from me by feelings, and people like Eckhart Tolle, Deepak Chopra, Paulo Coelho, he wrote a book called The Alchemist, if you've heard of it, Oprah Winfrey, all of these people are proponents of the postmodern era. This is how we got to this point. Now let's look at the scriptures, because everything we say is rooted and anchored in the scriptures. Let's see verses that speak about those three eras. First verse, the heavens declare the glory of God and the firmament shows his handiwork. Yes, we all believe that God exists. All you need to do is just look outside the window. You'll see the fingerprints of God. What is the verse about atheism? The fool says in his heart, there is no God. That's a pretty blunt verse. The fool, el-gahil, says in his heart, there is no God. Of course, all you need to do is just look outside. You don't even have to look outside. You can just look within yourself, how you are created. Now, what is a verse about postmodernism? St. Paul says to his disciple Timothy, in the last days, men will be lovers of themselves, lovers of money, lovers of pleasure, rather than lovers of God. I don't think you can get a more straightforward verse than this. What is lovers of themselves? Humanism. What is lovers of money? Materialism. What is lovers of pleasure? Hedonism. These are the three gods of our age. Now, question is, am I worshiping one of those three, or two, or all three? Because ye cannot worship the one true God and have some replacement gods on the side. That's why God said, you need to give me what? All your heart, not most of your heart. All right. And by the way, those three gods, do you remember the temptation of Christ on the mountain? They correlate to those three. Do you also remember deacons? When you read the Catholic epistle, every liturgy, and you end the Catholic epistle by saying what? Do not love the world, that's 1 John. Do not love the world, nor the things that are in the world. What's in the world? Exactly, but the verse says what? The pride of life, the lust of the eyes, and the lust of the flesh. That's the world. Guess what? Those are the three gods as well. What's the pride of life? Humanism. What's the lust of the eyes? Materialism. What's the lust of the flesh? Hedonism. And there you have it. So it's important to know how we got to this point where feelings have become my arbiter of truth, my determinant of what is true. Of course, that is not what we should believe in, but that is what our society has moved towards. All right, can you give me 4 more minutes to finish that first section? Then we'll take a break. Is that okay? Just 4 more minutes. Because what am I doing now? I am asking the question, why should we defend our faith? Because we talked about what is apologetics, and we're discussing now why we need to do apologetics. I said there are 3 reasons. Why? Because we're called to do so. Number 2, because our God commands it. Number 2 is that the world needs it. Number 3, because our purpose demands it. Our purpose demands for us to defend our faith. Now, who are we? And what is my purpose in life? I was at a conference. This was in Europe somewhere a couple of years ago. And then one youth raised their hand and said, what is my purpose in life? Now, that's a pretty loaded question. You can't just say, well, obey mom and dad, have good grades, get a nice job, marry, have children, work, retire, and then die. That's your purpose in life. No. What is your purpose in life? Y'all with me? What is your purpose in life? It's very simple. So I was thinking, when he was asking me the question, I was thinking, okay, God, give me wisdom to respond to this question in a way that he will understand it. I can give you a lecture about the purpose in life. But then I said, listen, I will make this very short, concise, to the point. Your purpose in life is twofold. All of us have the same purpose. And what is that? To know God. I love you. Thank you. Say that loud.
And make him known.
And make him known. And if you've ever heard me speak before, I always repeat these two words. Our purpose in life is to love, to know God, and to make him known. Period. Thank you, Rami. Okay. To know God, that's all over the book, by the way. If you read the book, I've had this statement all over the book. Know God, make him known. So let me dissect this with you a little bit. I am here to know who God is. And when you grow in his knowledge, what's going to happen? You will love him. But what happens first? Do you love him first, or do you get to know him first? You must get to know him first. You know why? I also wrote that in the book. Because the heart, listen carefully, the heart cannot love what the mind does not know. Remember that. The heart cannot love what the mind does not know. So for me to love God, I must get to know who he is so that I can have genuine love towards him. So when you grow in his knowledge, you will love him. And when you love him, you want to know him more. You get to know him more, you will love him more. You will get to a point, you love him so much, you will what? Share him with others. Just like social media. When you get a post or whatever, and you like it, you like it. But if you like it a lot, you love it. But if you like it very, very much, you share it. Now, why are we not sharing the message of all messages? The good news of the gospel. Maybe because, is it that because we don't like it, don't understand it, because we're afraid, because we're shy, because we don't know? So these are questions we ought to ask ourselves. Why are we sharing stuff that is not as relevant and significant to the message of the gospel? Question that I also ask myself. All right, what is my purpose in life? To know God and to make him known. And I'll skip this so that we don't, okay. We are also the light of the, yes, Hiba. Who are we? Explain. Claire. Oh, that's, I was coming to that next. Yes, good question. Who are we? You're right. Who are we to this world? I should say, what are we to this world? Light. That's what every one of us, whether you like it or not, you have been given this responsibility by virtue of being a Christian in this world. You are the light of this world. Daniel, you are the light of, whether you like it or not. Now the question is, do I act according to who I am to this world? That's the question I ask myself. So what does light do? You're in this beautiful Trinity Hall. The lights are out. Will you see anything? Even if you have perfect 20/20 vision. It's in the US, it's 20/20. Is it 20/20 here in Bordeaux? Okay. If you have perfect vision, the lights are out. Will you see anything? So light gives what? Sight. Light gives sight. Now, what else does light do? Gives direction. Who said that? Yes, thank you, Margaret. It gives direction. Let's think biology or think plants. Biology. Life. I mean, light does a lot of things. I'm just looking for two essential things. Sight and life. Without light, are you guys good? Good. Okay. And without light, you cannot have sight, nor can you have life. Think logically. I am called to be the light of this world. So logical, deductive reasoning. I must give what to this world? Sight and life. Now, do we have spiritually blind people in this world? You better believe we do. What are we called to do? To give them sight, spiritually speaking. Do we have spiritually dead people in this world? You better believe we do. What are we called to do? To give them life. And I should say give them. To reflect that life we have unto them. To reflect that light we have unto them. This is what we are called to do in this world.
لما تعدي
Now
وتشوفي
think about it.
الحاجة
For me
لازم
to give
تحط
sight
25
or to reflect sight rather, I must first be seeing. And for me to reflect life, I must first be living. Am I seeing and living? That's a question that we ask. Now, this is supposed to be an apologetics session, not a spiritual talk. Forgive me, but I just have to give some practicality as well. All right, I think we should finish now. And then when we come, not finish, we'll finish with a break. When we come back, we'll talk about, practically speaking, how do we defend
ما هو ما مش
our
جايين
faith.
بعشتهم
Now, we're supposed to
صدقيني
talk about atheism and the existence of God and a lot of other things. I don't think we're going to have the time to finish all 6 sessions. Or I can just be very quick and make this quick. But I wanted to يعني أخذ وقتي معاكم because I think this is important stuff I wanted to share with you. So now it is 7:20. What is it? 7:25.
finish وكلوز الكاف نعمل بقى نروح حطي دوسي على دي اوكي سيلز اند تاج سمري لا كليك عليه وتيجي تظبطي هنا التواريخ ده هو بس وانت تغيريه نكست 6 و6 تعملي جنريت تعملي برنت ايوه كليك برنت ريبورت وتبرنت وبرنت تاني 60,000 برنت لغايه لما ربنا يشفيك على الوزن ما تشوفي بالملابس هنا بنسن دلوقتي هو the problem I don't have let me call him لو ردت يبقى كده بقى يقفلي من السن ايه بس تراجع الاوردر ما كنت عايزه اسال على حاجه وخلاص يودا انا لازم اعمل الاوردر يعني لازم تراجعي ومعلش جاردنس ده تاني منال ما فيش منه اعمل اوردر ولا بلاش ايوه طبعا اوكي just one right ايوه username Hi Sandra, this is Manal calling. I was coming to Christie Garden today, so I was thinking of sending you your package, but the only problem, I don't really know your apartment number, so I can't really do the delivery without having the apartment number because I don't want it to be lost. So anyway, we will be in the pharmacy Monday to Friday because we don't open Saturday anymore. And that's it. Okay. Thank you. Bye-bye.